Congress goes after former New York Governor Andrew Cuomo for alleged negligent homicide. Government employees and IRS employees caught skipping taxes while harassing others to pay their fair share. And Elon Musk issues a warning to America and the rest of the world. Well, this year, thanks to Trump, we've learned a lot about our tax money being stolen and funneled to Democrat-led charities, churches, and NGOs. Biden said he had to raise taxes and tried to hire 80,000 more IRS agents. The biggest growth in America's employment under Biden was actually government jobs, with 25% of new jobs going to federal employees. Now, a new report shows the IRS and government employees are the ones most likely to cheat the IRS when it comes to tax money. Check this out.
Had to write a big fat check to the government today to pay their taxes. Over 100,000 federal workers are not paying their taxes. In 2021, the IRS found that almost 150,000 federal workers owe about $1.5 billion in unpaid taxes. Over 5,000 of them work at the IRS and owe $50 million in overdue taxes. Even though the IRS can fire its workers that are not paying their taxes, only 20 people have been terminated. That double standard is something Senator Joni Ernst, Senate Doge Caucus chair, wants to stop. She's introducing several bills aimed at cleaning up the IRS. One bill would require IRS employees to be audited every year and fired if they don't pay their taxes. But while the IRS is not catching the tax cheats on their own payroll, they are busy arming their workforce. Ernst is also calling out 10 million taxpayer dollars the IRS has spent on guns and ammo, stockpiling 4,500 guns, 5 million rounds of ammo, even 15 machine guns.
All right, so you and I are supposed to pay our taxes and pay them on time, or you get an egregious fine. Now we find out that the IRS employees owe $50 million to their own organization and $1.5 billion in back taxes from members of Congress, federal employees, DMV, all over the government. They owe money. The Trump administration is ramping up its immigration crackdown, aiming to deport 10 million undocumented immigrants, including 435,000 with criminal records, in what would be the largest mass deportation in U.S. history. But according to ICE data, deportation numbers remain low, with only 11,000 in February and 12,300 in March, partly due to fewer people crossing the border. To boost numbers, the administration is considering self-deportation programs and deals with countries like El Salvador, which recently accepted over 200 suspected gang members to their massive prison. President Trump addressed this obstacle, stating, "My team is fantastic, doing an incredible job. However, they are being stymied at every turn, even by the U.S. Supreme Court, which I have such great respect for, but which seemingly doesn't want me to send violent criminals and terrorists back to Venezuela or any other country for that matter, people that came here illegally." So the sitting president of the United States, the person that under Article 2 has full control of the country, is in fact being blocked not only on state level and federal level, but now by the Supreme Court that does not want them to be able to deport illegal immigrants and prisoners and gang members and killers. It's absolutely crazy. But as Republicans are trying to kick out illegals, Democrats are trying to keep them. Democrats are now pushing heavily for a man who they say was mistakenly deported, Kilmar Abrego Garcia, to return. Now, I told you about Senator Von Hollen of Maryland going down on taxpayer dollars to visit Garcia. Well, now 4 other Democrat lawmakers, Anasari, Dexter, Frost, and Robert Garcia, have traveled to El Salvador and accused MS-13 member is the reason that they're going down there. Now, why these people are fighting so hard to keep an illegal immigrant, a killer, a rapist, a drug trafficker, a gang leader? Makes no sense to me. Garcia, a former undocumented immigrant who was supposed to be out of the country, continues to get more mainstream media attention and more attention from members of Congress than the very people that pay their salary, pay taxes, and vote them into office. I hope that this comes with massive backlash. Can you imagine if President Trump was fighting tooth and nail to keep illegal immigrants in the country? We would all be disgusted. We would drop him like a bad habit. But these guys have lots of bad habits. They say that this is a constitutional crisis. How is it a constitutional crisis? These aren't citizens. The Constitution has nothing to do with them. Now, both President Trump and President Nayib Bukele of El Salvador have pushed back, saying this man will not be coming back to the United States of America. In a post on Truth Social, President Trump said, "This is the man, Gilmar Abrego Garcia." Let me just add, the courts are trying to save him from being deported. He was supposed to be, according to the judge and the Democrats, a wonderful father from Maryland, but they noticed that he had MS-13 tattoos on his knuckles and lots of really bad stories about his past. This is the gang that is perhaps the worst of them all. What is wrong with our country? Well, President Trump, half of us support you. We want these people removed, but that's not what they want. And why? Because they need future voters, because they've encouraged their voters to kill their babies, to have smaller families, to lessen your carbon footprint. But now Elon Musk is raising an alarm. In a recent interview on Fox News with Bret Baier, he said, "Without immigration, America is toast. With immigration, it changes everything. But America and countries around the world, in the next 4 generations, they won't be able to sustain themselves, and humanity is in crisis." Let's listen to what he had to say.
Well, there's a lot of things, I suppose, that I worry about, but and some of these things will seem esoteric to people. The birth rate is very low in almost every country, and it's something, unless that changes, civilization will disappear. America had the lowest birth rate, I believe, ever. That was last year. Places like Korea, the birth rate is 1/3 replacement rate. So that means in 3 generations, Korea will be 3 or 4% of its current size. And nothing seems to be turning that around. Humanity is dying. And people, it's just not something we evolved to react to. And I worry generally about the strength of America. America is the central column that holds up all of Western civilization. So if you've got the temple of Western civilization, America is the central column. If that column fails, it's all over. You can't run off to New Zealand or some other place. It's over. So either we strengthen that column and make sure America is strong and will be strong for a long time, or that roof's coming down.
So Elon Musk worries that humanity could actually fall apart. I mean, he has a point, right? Imagine if all of a sudden we had thousands or hundreds of thousands of abandoned businesses and houses and cars because there was not enough people. Now, I believe America is going to be safe, but where he says that America is the central column that holds up Western civilization, look at everything happening in England, over in Europe. These people, they have no morals anymore. It's just crazy how much Western civilization has changed. And yet President Trump is trying to sustain that. Many members of MAGA are trying to sustain that. I hope that it won't be an issue down the road. Now, I want to tell you about a big story. Former New York Governor Andrew Cuomo could be going to jail. House Oversight Committee Chairman James Comer has referred former New York Governor Andrew Cuomo to the Department of Justice for criminal prosecution, accusing him of lying to Congress about his role in New York's COVID-19 nursing home crisis. This could be negligent homicide. If they're able to prove that he ordered sick people to be sent where 10,000 plus seniors died because of his decision. Now, Congressman Comer called Cuomo a man with a history of corruption and deceit, alleging a calculated cover-up at the governor level, saying that he alone was responsible for thousands of nursing home deaths. In March 2020, Andrew Cuomo's administration issued a directive requiring nursing homes to admit COVID-positive patients, not people that might have COVID, people that absolutely had COVID. A policy critics say fueled outbreak among vulnerable seniors. A 2021 report by Attorney General Letitia James revealed the state uncovered nursing home deaths by up to 50%. They had lied about the numbers. They had lied about the order. They had lied about their scheme to have senior citizens killed in order to up their numbers to get more publicity and more money out of Donald Trump. Now, a 2020 Health Department report, which Cuomo claimed was independent, was allegedly edited by him in order to shift blame from himself onto staff members. Evidence, including documents and testimony, contradicts Cuomo's June 2024 testimony denying any involvement in report drafting. Now, James Comer referral, initially ignored by the Department of Justice, was just resubmitted to Attorney General Pam Bondi. Pam Bondi, the ball is in your court. This is a big deal. We're talking about almost 15,000 American seniors that died from negligent homicide because of the decisions of Andrew Cuomo. And then there was a cover-up. Why does this sound familiar? Dr. Fauci funds with our money gain of function. It leaks or is purposely released. Millions and millions of people die. He knows it. He lies. Then he covers it up. These people need to be locked up. Let me know in the comments. Do you want Fauci locked up? Do you think former Governor Andrew Cuomo should be locked up? This is really, really bad. I mean, if we can get Cuomo and Attorney General Letitia James investigated by Pam Bondi, Pam, do your job. This would be a great start to the first 100 days of Donald Trump. All right, now, Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has announced to phase out 8 petroleum-based artificial food dyes from the United States starting today. He's not giving them a week. He's not giving them a month. He's not even giving them a year. He's saying America needs to be healthier right now. These 8 petroleum-based food dyes must go away by midnight tonight. So there's going to be a lot of food products that could be pulled from shelves, but more likely it will be going forward, you can't make any more food with these because some of these were making people very sick. Some of them, they believe, are causing ADHD, and others were proven to cause cancer in rats once you gave them enough over a long enough period of time. Now, I, for one, want to be healthy, and I know RFK Jr. is trying to make America healthier again. All right, a word from our sponsor. Let's be real. Losing weight isn't just about looking good. It's about taking back control of your overall health. 42% of adults in America are classified as obese. Obesity is directly linked to severe health issues, including heart disease, diabetes, stroke, and cancer. These illnesses are costing Americans over $173 billion in medical expenses. If you've tried diets and different workout routines without success, it's not your fault. Big food and big pharma have rigged the system against you by contradicting information, leaving you confused. But there's good news. The wellness company just launched Drop, a GLP-1 peptide oral formula. developed by their chief medical board, specifically designed to support your metabolism, curb cravings, and help you shed weight. That's right, no injections or risk of severe side effects we are seeing with the Zempic. Simply take drop in water, gradually increasing quantity over time, and let your body do the rest. Start your weight loss journey today and get $100 off your first order plus free shipping. Just go to twc.health/amazing. Type in code DROPSG for $100 off plus free shipping. Go get healthy right now. Check it out. I'll leave that link below. All right. Now, I mentioned that we want to get these food dyes out. They're showing that yellow 5, red 40, they're causing lots of behavioral issues in children. This is science. And then what did they do? They look the other way, right? Like, la, 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 la. Don't tell us that. These people put us in office. Big oil put us in office. So he's saying by midnight tonight, I want it gone. All right. Now, Biden's biggest talking point in 2020 was, I will forgive your student loan debt. Well, it worked, at least the getting votes part. Hundreds of thousands of young Americans flocked to the polls to get free student loan debt forgiveness. Biden then defied the U.S. Supreme Court, which told him, you cannot forgive debt. Only Congress can do that. And stopped payments on $1.6 trillion of loan debt. Well, the White House is saying it's time for people to pay their debts. We can't have people not paying their debts. Let's go ahead and listen to what was said at the White House today from Carolyn Levitt.
Every day. In other news, the Trump administration has announced we will put an end to Joe Biden's illegal student loan bailout attempts. No student loan has been referred to collection since March of 2020. That comes to an end. On May 5th, the Department of Education will resume involuntary collections for borrowers with defaulted federal student loans. The student loan portfolio controlled by the federal government is nearly $1.6 trillion, but fewer than 4 out of 10 borrowers are in repayment. This is unsustainable, unfair, and a huge liability for American taxpayers. Debt cannot be wiped away. It just ends up getting transferred to others. So why should Americans who didn't go to college or went to college and responsibly paid back their loans pay for the student loans of other Americans? The Trump administration will never force taxpayers to pay student loan debts that don't belong to them. Student loan borrowers need clarity, and we're finally giving it to them. Borrowers will now be clearly expected to repay their loans, and those who default on their loan obligations will face involuntary collections. The government can and will collect defaulted federal student loan debt by withholding money from borrowers, tax refunds, federal pensions, and even their wages. America is $36 trillion in debt. We must get our fiscal house in order and restore common sense to our country.
All right. So this is a tough one, right? I started talking about this in 2021. I said, you guys should not be pausing these loans. You should instead make them interest-free. Because as someone who used to do financial planning for 15 years, I know people that decades after going to college were still paying off their loans. I felt for them, right? They would make extra payment. It didn't matter. The interest just accrued against them. At the same time, you got to pay back your loans, right? Like, you got to be a good steward of debt. Now, this is why I was saying it was such a bad idea. Again, 15 years of financial planning. People build their budgets around their income. So now Biden said, as a gift to you, I'm going to stop your payments. But those payments could be deferred into infinity only until you die, right? And so the Trump administration is saying, we have to bring this money back. It's owed $1.6 trillion. So I know some of you in my community are probably like, crap, dang it. I'm going to have to live outside of my budget now. And others are saying, good grief. I don't want to pay for somebody else's debt. It's a tough situation, but it looks like those are restarting. Now, as many of you know, Pope Francis passed away yesterday morning, the day after Easter, at age 88. He suffered a stroke and then it looks like went into a coma and then died of cardiovascular failure. Pope Francis, the first Latin American pope to lead the Catholic Church, was pope for 12 years after Pope Benedict stepped down. He passed away at his Vatican residence and had been fighting double pneumonia for about 5 weeks. President Trump said that he and First Lady Melania Trump will attend the Pope's funeral and pay their respects. In a Truth Social post, President Trump wrote, "Melania and I will be going to the funeral of Pope Francis in Rome. We look forward to being there." On a different note, Charlie Kirk continues to remind Americans why we need to be careful about who we trust to lead the pharmaceutical and public health industry. On X, Charlie Kirk wrote, "Anthony Fauci's shoddy pro-lockdown advice ruined thousands of businesses and millions of lives. But it worked for him. During the COVID period, Fauci's personal wealth ballooned to 7.6 million. Now, according to a watchdog group, he has a net worth of $15 million. How on earth did he double his money in his first year of retirement? Not double like a portion of his money, but all of that money. It was just a bigger version of what countless federal employees got, a guaranteed taxpayer-funded paycheck and permanent work from home, while people with real jobs and the real economy were devastated. Fauci is the entire federal regime in a nutshell. Parasitism, incompetence, entitlement, shamelessness, and a get-out-of-jail-free card at the very end. That's why the people voted for President Trump to tear down Washington, D.C., and his administration is delivering on it. Now, how do you guys feel about Dr. Fauci now suddenly being worth $15 million after it's been proven that millions of people around the world died because of him, his funding choices, and his decision to lie and cover up his sins? Millions are dead. So sad. Steve Hilton, who's been on the show several times, announced today he is running for governor of California as a Republican. His campaign, the Golden Again, and he plans to make California better by following the law to get rid of illegal immigrants. Get illegal immigrants off of the voter rolls because there's way more Republicans in California than you would ever know. Get illegals off of welfare programs, free health care, free school. I wish him luck. It will be an uphill journey, but I believe that California still has a lot of red flowing through her veins. All right, in international news, the United States military has given Israel powerful bunker-busting bombs known as MOPS, massive ordnance penetrators, which can destroy deeply buried nuclear sites. Wait a minute. Didn't Trump just stop them from bombing the nuclear facilities of Iran? Now he's giving them the weapons that they need. Also, 2 U.S. B-2 bombers on the island of Diego Garcia in order to give cover and help in the region, signaling the fact that the United States military might be gearing up for war with Iran, or at least to have the back of Israel. Now, I know many people don't want this. I don't want this. I don't think President Trump wants it. Let me know in the comments if you do. I'm done with war. I want endless wars to end. I want that money to stay right here in the United States of America. We need new roads, new bridges. We need to educate our children. We got a lot of problems at home. Let's quit giving our money away to foreign nations and especially to foreign wars. Now, later this week, Zelensky is supposed to sign a mineral rights agreement with President Trump. If he does not, according to Marco Rubio, the United States of America will wash their hands of Ukraine and walk away. No more money, no more weapons. And that war will be forced to come to a grinding halt, or they'll just allow Russia to do whatever Russia is going to do. All right. Thank you guys for letting me be your source of truth and news. I appreciate it. Stay amazing, and I'll see you on the next video.